All right, so this lesson is about quadratic formula. So in the front here, I'm going to show you a couple things that are important for you to continue on with this lesson. First of all, this is the quadratic formula. I made you guys listen to it the whole class period last time because it's not part of the formula sheet on the EOC. It won't be there. So that tells you that's one that you have to memorize if you want to use. Okay? Now, when you use the quadratic formula, there's three possible outcomes. One solution, two solution, or no solutions. Right? Now, what tells you if there's one solution, two solution, or no solution is going to be the discriminant, which is just that part of the song that's b squared minus 4ac, the part that goes inside of the radical. Now, you'll see in a minute why it's important. But first, I want to show you a little sketch of what this would look like as far as solutions go. So if you have the same solution, positive 3, you don't have to write it twice. That's actually one solution because it's the same number. So that just means that the u touches only that spot. It only crashes into the x-axis on that spot, which means the u has to be right above the x-axis, touching that 1 point, or right below, touching that 1 point. You with me? Now, in purple, I'm going to sketch two solutions. Two solutions, what you're used to seeing, where it goes through two different spots. So it goes through, for example, -2 and +6. Notice the difference between those two u's. This one crosses over the x-axis twice. This one only touches the x-axis once. Now, last one in red. If the discriminant is negative, which means whatever you do in here, if you end up with a negative like this, the calculator tells you error. That's a hint. When your calculator tells you error, it's no solution. Now, what does that look in terms of a graph? That just means that the u has to be down here, never touching the x-axis, or up there, or up here, or down there. The point is it never crosses the x-axis. That's why there's no solutions. You with me? So the discriminant is just the part inside of the radical, b squared minus 4ac. So if the discriminant is negative, there's no solution. Try pressing that in the calculator if you have a calculator right now. You press -36 and press the square root button. It should tell you error. Can't be done. You guys need one? So whenever the calculator tells you there's an error, that's a little hint for you. No solution. So now what we're going to do on this page is I'm going to write down the factors and then I'm going to do the zero product property for both of these equations. Now, the reason why I'm going to do that is because we're going to compare it after to how it relates to the quadratic formula. So, I'm not going to teach you how to factor. We did that all of last week and the week before. So, I'm just going to write down the factors. X plus 6, x minus 2. I know those are the factors. Now, after you factor, you use a zero product property to find solutions. The quadratic formula is used to find solutions. So you're talking about two things that are aiming to get the same answer. It's just a different way of solving for it. So if you make x plus 6 equal to 0 and solve it, your solution is -6. If you put x minus 2 equal to 0 and solve it, your solution is +2. Everybody with me so far? Now what we're going to do is we're going to erase the factors, pretend they're not there, and we're going to use the quadratic formula to solve this. Then we can compare it to our answers that we got using the zero product property. You with me? So, first things first. My opinion, whenever you see a letter in the quadratic formula, put a parenthesis so you can avoid mistakes. So, for example, -b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. What I just did is put a parenthesis whenever I said a, b, or c. It makes it a lot easier to plug in. Now let's label. A is the number that touches x squared, so A is 1. B is the number that touches the x, so it's positive 4. And C is the constant, the number that has no variable being multiplied to it, which is negative 12. Now we just plug in those values. The first one you're plugging in is the B value. So the first two get a 4 in it. The next parentheses is A, and the bottom one is A. So grab the value for A, put it in the middle and the bottom. And the last parentheses is always C, which is negative 12. Now let's solve, see what happens here. Negative 4 and the bottom, 2 times 1, that's just going to come down until the end. So you're going to have negative 4 on one side, 2 on the bottom, the plus or minus in the middle. The only thing you have to calculate is what's inside of the radical. So let's calculate that. 4 to the second power is 16. Do not do it all on the calculator. Do that part in the calculator if you want, then do these three products all at once. So negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 times negative 12 is positive 48. So don't put a sign until you multiply all three numbers. Now 16 plus 48 is 64. 64. Now, square root of 64 is 8. So we're ready to solve now. The first answer you're going to get by using the plus. So negative 4 plus 8 is positive 4 divided by 2 equals 2. The next answer you're going to get using the minus. Negative 4 minus 8 is negative 12 divided by 2 is negative 6. Now compare our answers to what we got using the zero product property. It is the same answer. Now let me show you why this is important. Why these two methods relate to each other. So this here was our trinomial. Pay attention, Leandro. This here was our trinomial. Now let's say your instructions say factor, and you get to the problem, you forgot how to factor. If you remember the quadratic formula, once you get your two results, you can backtrack and write down your factors. So all you know about factors versus solutions, that the sign's opposite, right? So if you get negative 6 as a solution, what was it in the parentheses? Plus 6. If you got positive 2 as a solution, what was it in the parentheses? Minus 2. So you can always get the factors by using the quadratic formula. You understand? So this is your safety blanket. If you forget how to factor, quadratic formula. Simple. It's your safety blanket. Now we're going to try the pink question. We're doing it together. The next page is on your own, so don't do this pink question on your own. What? You guys didn't sing the song? This period didn't get to sing the song? Oof. In that case, then when I'm done with this, you're going to have to sing the song. All right, so it just means you're going to have one less assignment than everyone else, so don't worry. Okay? So when I'm done with this lesson, I'll tell you what the classwork is. The classwork is going to be very simple. Listen to the song, write it 30 times. All right? Simple. That's it. Till the end of the period. When you're done, but you still have to listen to it. Just from memory. Okay? Then the activity you can do the next time I see you. But you'll have the explanation. All right, so now. All right, let's do the pink example. On the pink example, A is 1, B is negative 10, and C is 25. Now, I know that my two factors here are x minus 5, x minus 5. If I use a zero product property, both of those will give me the same answer. positive 5. But like I said, we're going to avoid the factors and use the quadratic formula first instead. So negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. Now b is a negative 10, so we're going to put it on the first two parentheses. A is positive 1, so you're going to put it in the middle and the bottom. C is always the last one. It's the constant, 25. Now, the first and bottom number are just going to come down. 10 plus or minus, and the bottom is 2. The only thing you have to calculate is what's inside of this radical. Negative 10 to the second power is positive 100. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 times 25 is negative 100. Now, what's 100 minus 100? 0. Now, this is what we talked about. If the discriminant is negative, no solution. If the discriminant is 0, you're going to end up with one solution. And if your discriminant is bigger than 0, it's going to have two solutions like we had there. So this is going to give me one solution. This is why it gives us one solution. What's 10 plus 0? 10. What's 10 minus 0? 10. So it's going to give you the same answer both times. 10 divided by 2 equals 5. You with me? If you factor and you get one solution, if you use a quadratic formula and you get one solution, that means both factors have the same numbers in them. Change the sign, x minus 5, x minus 5. Those would be the factors for a one solution of positive 5. Because it's the same concept. This will give you positive 5, this will give you positive 5. Same thing up here. Both gave you positive 5. All right, on this next page, you're going to try these three examples on your own. Go ahead and start with the first, second. The third one's going to be in red. Try it on your own. Go ahead. Start with number 1. On the blue example, negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. Now, negative 6, positive 2, that's going to come down to the end. So you know it's going to be like this. You just need to replace this spot with the number you get when you simplify the radical. So here we have 6 to the second power, which is positive 36. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 times 9 is negative 36. 36 minus 36 is 0. How many solutions do you have when your discriminant is 0? See if you remember the last problem. One solution when your discriminant is 0. Why? Because negative 6 plus 0 is negative 6, divided by 2 equals negative 3. And negative 6 minus 0 is also negative 6. Divided by 2 is negative 3. Same answer, you don't have to write it twice. You write it one time because it's one solution. Now on the red question here, negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. Now, negative 7 and the 20 are just going to come down to the bottom with the plus or minus. The only thing you're trying to replace is this spot with the value you get when you simplify your radical. Now, when I go simplify that radical, 7 to the second power is positive 49. Negative 4 times 10 is negative 40. Negative 40 times 6 is negative 240. 49 minus 240, is that going to give me a positive or a negative result? That's going to give me a negative result, negative 191. If you have a negative inside of the square root, you stop working and you write what? No real solution. You with me? Now, for other solutions, make sure if you get a decimal, you round to the nearest tenth. So if you have 12.539, you put 12.5. Now, this is the final page right here. Final page right here. And this is actually a question that's super important for any standardized test. You're going to be asked which quadratic equations have no real solutions. So make sure you read, because if you pick the ones that have real solutions, you got all the opposite answers. If it asks for no real solutions, you only check the no real solutions. So you already have the basics for this. To have a no real solution, all you're looking for is a negative inside of a square root. You with me? So watch what happens when I try to solve the first one. X squared plus 10 equals 35. When you want to use a square root property, all you do is get x squared by itself. So minus 10 minus 10. That leaves you with x squared equals 25. Now, if I wanted to solve it, I put a square root on both and I solved it. But this doesn't say solve. This says which has no real solution. So you don't have to solve. If this is a positive, it has a solution. If it's a negative, it doesn't. So in this case, you cannot check the first box. You get what I'm about to do for the next ones? So on the second one, plus 10 plus 10. What's negative 35 plus 10? Negative 25. If you get a negative, no real solution. Look at the third one here. X squared equals 16. X squared is by itself already, so if this is positive, you have a solution. If it's negative, you don't. Since it's positive, you do have a solution. Do not check the box. Now over here, x squared is not by itself. You have to divide by the coefficient, which is negative 2. If you divide the left by negative 2, you divide the right side by negative 2. That equals negative 25. If it's a negative, has no real solution. Now on the next two, you divide by 2, it gives you positive 30. Can't check that one because it has solutions. And on the last one, it ends up giving you negative x squared equals negative 25. But that's not done. There's a negative 1 coefficient. So when you divide both sides by negative 1, it becomes positive 25. So you cannot check that box. The only boxes that can be checked are the second and fourth box because they're the ones that end up with a negative on the right side. Any questions on that? All right, so your work tomorrow, not tomorrow, next time I see you will be this little activity that I have for quadratic formula. But for today, you're just going to write the quadratic formula 30 times. So it's on Google Classroom. It's called Quadratic Hype. And it says just write the quadratic formula 30 times. So do not copy and paste because I'll give you an F. You have to write it with your handwriting. So negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. I just wrote it one time. You write it 30 and you're done. You with me? But more importantly, enjoy the song. It's a wonderful song. Let it sink in. What? Yes. Why is that teacher one up there? All right, hold on. Can you guys see if you can hear it from your speakers? Can you hear it? No. All right, tell me if you can hear it. Can you hear it from your computer?